Thank you. Good to be here.
How are you going to vote on the Boehner bill?
Well, I'm going to vote no on the Boehner bill. The Boehner bill is ridiculous. It's an extreme bill. It's one-sided. They know it has no chance of passing the Senate. This is just political theater at its worst. So they can go home and blame the president and blame the Democrats. Instead of working with us, moving towards the center and trying to find common ground, John Boehner is a captive of his own conference, where so many of them have signed this Tea Party pledge not to, under any circumstances, raise taxes. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason why the American people should be held hostage, and we should have Medicare hostage and all the programs that are important when millionaires and billionaires are not paying their fair share, when large corporations have loopholes to ship jobs overseas. When we want to make sure that people pay their fair share, they want to hurt the middle class and the senior citizens by trying to destroy Medicare. We're not going to buy it. They know what they need to do to get a deal. We're willing to give up a lot of things, but the president has said very, very firmly that the extreme legislation that's passed in the House is not going anywhere. They tried this last week with their bill, which they called a balanced budget amendment, which was full of nonsense. It wasn't a pure balanced budget amendment at all. And they keep playing these political games and blaming everyone else for themselves. I feel sorry for John Boehner because he's being held captive, but we are going to protect Medicare and protect Social Security.
But you just
said
you were willing to give up a lot of things. What are you willing to give up? What would it take to get you to agree? And are you concerned? I mean, I just mentioned people who say, look, I'm not behind anybody who's standing in the way of a deal. Are you concerned that you could bear the consequences of that if you're seen voting against the plan that's coming up for a vote?
The most important thing for me is what's good for the country, not what's necessarily good for my reelection. And it seems to me that if we're spending more than we're taking in, and we are, and we need to get our budget balanced, then you need to do three things. It's very simple. You need to cut spending. You need to close tax loopholes and let those corporations that are paying no tax whatsoever pay some tax. And you have to let people who can afford to pay a little bit more, the billionaires and the multimillionaires, pay a little bit more. It's got to be all three things. It can't just be what the Republicans say, cut spending and forget about everything else. That's an extreme position, and that doesn't work. You know, they are the majority in the House, with about 53 or 54% of the majority of one House. They're the minority in the Senate, and they don't have the presidency. So with this small majority they have in the House, they think they can, run roughshod over everybody. I think the American people can see this. We have to meet in the middle, and there can be no absolutes. Everything needs to be on the table.
Well, the most recent polling has shown that people on the left, progressives, want compromise, but people on the far right, they want their representatives to stand firm, which it looks like they're doing at this point. Let me ask you about another angle this could take. On this date in 1868, the 14th Amendment was adopted into the Constitution. James Clyburn is raising the prospect once again of the president using that amendment to raise the debt ceiling on his own without congressional approval. The amendment says in part, the validity of public debt shall not be questioned. The White House has essentially said, look, it's not applicable to this problem. Is there a bigger role for the president in breaking this impasse?
Yes, I have been calling on the president to invoke the 14th Amendment for several weeks now, and in fact, less than an hour, I have a press conference at 14th Street and Constitution Avenue, which is the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, with several of my colleagues, Congressman Garamendi, Nadler, and Sheila Jackson Lee, and Donna Christensen, and I are going to call on the president once again to invoke the 14th Amendment. It's a last resort, but it's better than default, and I think the president should do it.
Congressman Engel, it's good to talk to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.